My name is Terrence Mack. Again, I stand before you as someone who's been on the Black College Tour myself in 2010, also a graduate of Clark Atlanta University, proud member of Iota Phi Theta Fraternity Incorporated, and I am joined here today with a very, very distinguished panel. The panel for today's HBCU discussion. We have Mr. Bruce Willis III. Can we clap it up for Mr. Bruce Williams III? He is a graduate of Winston-Salem State University in healthcare management and is currently serving as a financial aid advisor for Springfield Public Schools. He decided to attend an HBCU because of the historic culture that has been laid before him. Furthermore, his intention in applying was to be immersed in an educational environment full of like-minded people. Thank you for joining us. All right, just coming in, Ms. Dana Gomes. Thanks for joining us. Dana Gomes is a proud 2011 graduate of Morgan State University, where she earned her Bachelor of Arts in Speech Communication with a concentration in interpersonal communication while at Morgan. She was a member of Army ROTC, the YWCA, and the Kumba, a mentorship program that nurtured her passion for leadership and community. And today, she serves as a captain in the U.S. Army Reserve, commissioned in December 2011. She currently serves as the Army Reserve Administrator for the 382nd Military Police Battalion, overseeing the day-to-day operations of the unit and facilitating communication between soldiers and leadership. As well, she is a proud member of the Springfield alum chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, and an owner of the Soulful Intentions, a metaphysical boutique that blends spirituality and empowerment. Dana's journey is a testament to faith, family, and the power of finding your voice. Thanks for joining us. Okay, we also have, next we have Mark Anders, a graduate of the illustrious North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University in 2013. He graduated summa cum laude from NC A&T and obtained a bachelor's degree in social work. He spent 5 years working in Duval County Public Schools as a middle school English teacher. Mark relocated to the New England area and spent 4 years serving as a middle school teacher, grade level chair, and founding high school dean at Libertas Academy Charter School. Mr. Anders has spent the last 3 years proudly serving as the middle school assistant principal at Bay State Academy Charter Public School in Springfield, Mass. Mark Anders is an ordained minister and proud school dad and uncle to a host of brilliant Black and brown scholars. Thank you also for joining us. And next we have Mr. Wayman Lee, who joins us as a graduate from Alabama A&M University, Huntsville, Alabama in 1971. With a degree in political science, and he is also a proud member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. Wayman is a member of the Massachusetts Bar and the U.S. Federal Bar and the Hampton County Bar Association, a former attorney of the Massachusetts Division of Employment Security in Boston from 1981 to 1988, the first African-American attorney, and the first African-American full-time attorney at the Springfield Law Department as an associate city solicitor from 1988 to 2006. Absolutely. I have another first. And the first full-time African-American attorney for the Springfield City Council from 1996 to 2006. Growing up in rural Alabama during the 1960s, during the Civil Rights Movement, inspired him to become the second member of his family to attend college and the first to graduate. Thanks for joining us. Next we have Miss Alicia Cutting. who is an engineering graduate of Tuskegee University and a former math and science educator in the Springfield Public Schools for 15 years. She was the vice president of membership and marketing for the YMCA of Greater Springfield and the director of marketing for the Wallingford Family YMCA, where she also designed marketing materials and visual displays. As program director for the historic African American Summer Camp, Camp Atwater, she ensured youth engaged in the performing arts. She also has created her own all-women talk show called Media Mama TV. She is a freelance editor and has written for Western Mass Women Magazine and Beautifully Inspired Women Over 40 magazine. She is known throughout our New England area as the voice and music programming on WEIB 106.3 Smooth FM radio. And she has received multiple awards for her artistry, volunteerism, and community service. Thank you for joining us. And we have with us Kyra Kennard, a graduate from Delaware State University, earning her BA in Mass Communications in 2022. With a family legacy running through Hampton, Spelman, and Clark, Atlanta, and a transformative Black college tour her sophomore year, Kyra knew she belonged at an HBCU. She served as a vice president of the Women's Senate, joined Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, represented the university as a campus tour guide, ambassador, and orientation leader, and was recognized for academic excellence through the National Honor Society, Dean's List, and President's List honors. Today, Kyra is a 6th grade humanities teacher and camp registrar at the historic Camp Atwater. Her work centers youth empowerment, women's leadership, and community uplifting, continuing the same values she was raised with and shaped by. Give it up for our panel, okay? And I'll start with you, Kara, on this one. To begin, what influenced you to choose an HBCU? And did you only apply to HBCUs or PWIs as well?
Okay, good morning, everyone. So what inspired me to attend at HBCU was I actually was in the METCO program, which is related here in New England mostly, but it's kind of like school choice. And so I'm from Springfield, but I went to Eastside Middle Schools from grade 3 through 12. So that was a major role, played a major role into why I wanted to go to a HBCU. And also, as highlighted in my bio, a lot of my family members attended HBCU. So I already kind of knew that was the path that would be for me. And yes, I did only apply to HBCUs. I had no interest in applying to any PWIs. So I went against my mom's wishes, and I only applied to HBCUs, and luckily I got in.
Thank you, Kyra. So, like my sister right here, I also have the legacy of specifically Tuskegee. So both of my parents were graduates from Tuskegee University, met there, married there, and graduated there. So because my father was veterinary medicine, which of course Tuskegee is the only, I believe, HBCU that has a veterinary medicine program, every year during my childhood, we would pretty much go back down to Tuskegee for the veterinary symposiums. Because of that, I'm 10, 11, 12, 14 years old seeing Tuskegee University. So clearly I was like, this is going to be the place for me. Also, it was during the era of a different world. That framed my viewpoint on an HBCU. If you don't know what a different world is, check it out. I don't want to make any assumptions. Go to YouTube, somewhere, look at a different world, Netflix, whatever, Hulu, everywhere, okay? Then I did also finally apply to other universities, although I did know that I was going to Tuskegee University. Because of who I am, I just wanted to see if I could get into a Dartmouth, so I applied. I was interested in engineering, I'm actually architecture, so I applied to Carnegie Mellon. So I applied to a few others, but my choice, my will was going to be a Tuskegee graduate. And like Kyra also, I came in through K through 12 in Long Meadow school system. So it was like, there was, again, no other question. I was going to be around my people.
Good evening. Wayman Lee, Alabama A&M University. I'm like the old head up here. You can see I have a 50-year sweater on here. So I've been out of school for 50, how long? 54 years. And when I was growing up, we didn't have the opportunity. I graduated from high school in 67. And 67 in Alabama, you wasn't going to no white institution in Alabama in 1967. You could try, but it was during the early civil rights years, and you just could not get into. I applied to Tuskegee, got in that, applied to Alabama State, got into there, and I applied to A&M. And the reason I went to A&M was a couple of my friends had went to A&M, so I decided to go up there. It's on a hill. Well, then it was on a hill. It's down in the valley now, but it was called On the Hill, and that's what I got my education. It says, the motto is, start here and go anywhere. And you can see by my resume, I started there, and I'm going. And I've been everywhere. Thank you.
So good afternoon, Mark Anders, a proud graduate of the illustrious North Carolina A&T State University. I chose to go to an HBCU because when I was in high school, I didn't feel seen, heard, or valued by the people at my school. Most of the educators there were white, identifying educators. Only had two that were actually black. One was my civics and economics / African American experience teacher, and then the other one was my home economics teacher. And so they poured into me and mentored me, and I realized that there was a whole world of black excellence out there that I just didn't get exposed to outside of A Different World and other of those things in social media at the time. And so I was really passionate about being in a place that could, again, teach me how to be the best version of myself, navigating this world with all of its challenges and still honoring my own ancestry. The other piece of it was I was constantly accused by some of those white educators of plagiarizing because they didn't believe or couldn't really comprehend the idea or the fact that a black boy in the South, growing up in Charlotte, North Carolina, could speak eloquently and write insightfully. So I was looking for a place where I didn't have to prove myself, but I could just be myself. And so I looked at different HBCUs. Growing up in Charlotte, I had a lot of family members that went to A&T. Some attended, some graduated. There is a difference. We can talk about that later. But I'm super proud that I'm part of the legacy that graduated from the largest HBCU in all the land. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Again, my name is Bruce Williams, proud Winston-Salem State University graduate, class of 2021, and member of Alpha Phi Fraternity Incorporated. What brought me to an HBCU was really my mother. Going to Virginia Union, homecoming at 8 years old, it changed my life. And I give her all praise and just due. It changed my life in a measure of ways. I moved from Massachusetts. I went to Sci Tech up until the age of 17, and I decided that I'm going to make the change and move to the Charlotte area, and it changed my life. I don't regret it one bit. Winston-Salem State, man, it was the Mecca. It was everything for me to be able to be in a melting pot of different cultures and to see different kids from New York, D.C., Philly, North Carolina, Massachusetts even. It changed my life, and I give you guys all credit for being here today. And to answer your second question, no, I did not apply to any other schools. I knew from 8 years old that I was going to go. And moving to North Carolina, having a counselor that instilled greatness in me, a black woman, mid-30s, just having those people around to really instill greatness in you. You can't get that anywhere else. And even on my campus, same love. It's like a mother-father relationship. They're going to press you. They're going to make sure you get where you got to be and do what you got to do. And I don't regret my choice one bit.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm a proud graduate of the national treasure, Morgan State University. To answer your question, I only applied to HBCUs. I only applied to Hampton University and Morgan State University. I chose Morgan State University because unfortunately at the time my parents weren't able to financially support my college dream. So I decided to join the military, and I was able to get a full ride scholarship plus a stipend and didn't have to work during college. Growing up in Springfield Public Schools, I'm a graduate of Sci-Tech. It was always being the only, the few. And I knew that from all the trips to UMass and AIC, I had grown up around these places, I knew that it wasn't for me. So I decided to venture out, and out of all my friends, I went the furthest, and I can truly say it was the best decision I ever made.
My name is Shaniqua Bruce Fryer, but I go by Nisi. It rolls off the tongue a little easier. And I graduated from Spelman College in 2006. Born and raised here in Springfield. Let's see, the reason why I chose Spelman, my mother is originally from Georgia. My father is from here, Springfield. And I had always heard stories about what Georgia was like, and she had never visited, not once when I was a kid. She had vowed she would never go back. And so I was like, well, what if I go to Spelman? She was like, that's the only way I would ever go back. And so I applied, not really knowing much about it. A lot of students that were there when I was there, I heard a lot of stories of them always dreaming of going either to Spelman or Morehouse. It was a lifelong dream. But for me, it was just, by happenstance. I think I shared that I watched a lot of in Living Color, yes, but a lot of Different World and a lot of Cosby, and I think that is what really solidified my decision to go to an HBCU and more so to go to Spelman. And I tell people it was the greatest decision I've ever made and the best 4 years of my life.
Excellent. And I echo a lot of the same reasons that you all mentioned. Me, myself, I applied everywhere, and I settled on a HBCU after going on the Black College Tour. It was the only college tour I ever went on. It was the first college tour I ever went on. I didn't have any aspirations to go to college. I just wanted to graduate, get a job, move out my parents' place, and that was kind of the future I seen for myself. But when you actually see it up and close in person, and you get to see just Black excellence in 3D form, and just get to ask those questions. I asked a ton of questions when I went on these experiences, and I think that's what really shaped my decision making at that time. Oh, for those that don't follow the acronyms, HBCU, historically Black colleges and universities, PWI, predominantly white institutions. So that would be majority of colleges and universities in our country are PWIs. They're usually predominantly white institutions, and then our HBCUs, which came into formality in the mid 1800s, that still stand today as a mecca for Black advancement. And going off of a lot of what I'm hearing from Dana, Bruce, Alicia, Kyra about HBCUs was the only choice that was on my mind. I wasn't thinking about anything else. And you spoke a little bit about those qualities that attracted you so much to that path. But I'd like to hear about also some of the surprises when you got on campus. So when you got on campus, what were some of those surprises, good and bad, the challenges as well, when you got there? Because I know for a lot of us, we traveled far, and it was a culture shock, getting on the promenade or getting in the quad and meeting all these individuals from all different walks of life. So I'll start with you, Kyra.
Okay, so for me, some of the shocks were, being in Massachusetts and being in the New England area, when Black people accomplish things, a lot of times they're the first, and they get a lot of accolades. What I quickly learned at my HBCU was that everyone had accomplished something. Everyone was the first. Everyone had multiple degrees. A lot of people came from families that had already attended college. So when I went, although I come from a family where most of us have attended college before, I was thinking like I was special, and I wasn't. So a surprise for me was that I did have to prove myself, but in a different way, not in the same way that I had to do in high school. And also that it was kind of like home still. Professors would be emailing me like, where's the homework? What are you doing? Why are you walking around campus looking crazy? So feeling that and having that also really did was a major part of my experience as well. So I think that was those were some of the good culture shocks. I don't really have a bad one, maybe just waiting in the financial aid line, but I think that's kind of a universal experience.
Like she said, thinking that, you are the cream of the crop, you are like the top of your class, walking into a space where you are surrounded by Black excellence. It's the norm. It's to be expected. So some of you all who might go to, if any of you all do go to predominantly white schools around Western Mass, you might be feeling like, okay, you got to prove yourself extra. You got to be always held suspect. Like, did you really write that? Or is that ChatGPT? But when you go to an HBCU, you literally are amongst your peers. They might come, like at Tuskegee, I want to say it was a surprise that there were so many international students. So there were like people, I grew up in Tuskegee, essentially. Both of my parents went there. But there are people, there's a whole West Coast, a whole California club that rolls deep. They send hordes of students. There are like students from Detroit, the whole Detroit Association in Chicago and New York, and obviously the South. But there were so many international students. And there were even some white students there too. So that was kind of one of my surprises that was just like, whoa. But one of the other ones, I think, was just that there were so many instructors that like took you on as your own. It's like she said, what's going on? Like, what's going on with you right now? It's where I had one particular instructor. He was a African instructor, Professor Adiyami. He taught material science. I thought this man hated me, like for real. I thought he just was like on me, like. Rrr. In retrospect, I realized how much he cared, and he did not want for me to be that statistic, to be like, yeah. I know, I got married in college. I started having children in college. I graduated 8 months pregnant with baby number 3. So I was taking babies to my engineering classes with me. And to know that there were supportive teachers who were like, we're not gonna let you fail. And it might take you the extended remix to get out of college, but you're not gonna just be a statistic, girl. You're getting up out of here. So that was, again, a level of support that you might or might not feel around here. But I think we can all say that in HBCU, your professors are like, yo, what are you doing right now? Get it together.
I'll echo all those sentiments. When you go to a HBCU, and I never wanted to go to a PWI, so I can't speak to that, but I wanted to go to college, and you won't believe this, but I started as an engineer also. I took 1 year, and all the labs was at 6 a.m. in the morning, and I said, engineering is not for me. I switched to pre-law my second semester, and I had professors who said, you sure you want to do engineering? My aptitude was math. I was in high school, they thought I was brilliant, but I really wasn't. I just, somehow I comprehend math and math problems and stuff like that. I don't know why. And I never had any big training in math or anything, but we had a professor, or a teacher, I would say, in high school that drilled math principles and techniques, so I just got kind of good at math, and I wanted to be an engineer, but early on, the party life called. When you go to HBC, that's one of the bad things, is the party life. The party, particularly if you're a freshman, the first year you go there, no matter where you come from, the life at a HBCU is completely different than you're going to find any place else you go. Greek life, band life, party life, school life, you have all kind of distractions your first year. And if you don't get it together that first year, you're going to get left behind. So I didn't want to get left behind. I didn't want to get up start classes at 6 a.m. in the morning. So I said, let me pick something else. So that's why I'm in the field that I am now. And one of the other things that Terrence did not mention, from 2006 to 2016, I was the first black city clerk for the city of Springfield. So any person in here born between 2006 and 2016, if you look at your birth certificate, you're going to see my name on that birth certificate. If your parents were married between 2006 and 2016, your parents are going to see my name on that marriage certificate. If the unfortunate circumstance happened that somebody passed in your family between 2006 and 2016, my name is going to be on that death certificate. So, like I said, you start at A&M, the motto is you can start here and go anywhere. I've been there. And
I guess I'll kind of echo everyone else's sentiments in terms of when you go to an HBCU again, like for instance, when I was in high school, again, like I said, I was discriminated against, accused of plagiarism all the time. I came from a large high school, so I graduated with a class of 600 students. I was in the top 10%, so I ranked like 50 out of 600. So I'm thinking I'm doing something. But when I go to North Carolina A&T, I realize that everyone is on your level and everyone is pushing you to be the best version. And the other thing was I knew that black people traveled across the world, and I knew that study abroad was an opportunity, but I didn't realize how many opportunities there were for people to study abroad. So I had friends that went overseas and went to Ghana and did a semester there, friends that went to Venezuela and did a semester there. So the amount of opportunities in college beyond just sitting in a classroom are extremely vast. You can kind of do pretty much anything. The last thing, I didn't take advantage of this opportunity because I knew I wanted to be an educator and a social justice advocate, but there are many schools that have an opportunity where you can kind of create your own major, which they also offer at predominantly white institutions, but being able to be under the guise of someone who looks like you, has already charted the path, and is able to mentor you really makes a big difference. And they really know the challenges that you can probably anticipate given the same social barriers that we all face. So again, international opportunities, local opportunities, networking like nobody's business, because at an HBCU, the professors and the students, everybody knows somebody who can help you get to where you're trying to go. And so take advantage.
I'm going to go home and look at my marriage certificate and see if your name is on there. But, you know, mimicking everything everyone said. But I think for me, I didn't do a Black college tour. I never visited I visited Howard, but I never went to visit Spelman before. So my first encounter with Spelman was move-in day. And I don't know what everyone else's experience was like, but kind of just imagine you get off, you're on the highway, and when you get off at the West End, just imagine a line of people. And I mean, from the highway to the gate, as we call it, they are there and to welcome you. They are like cheering you on. They're singing songs. They are chanting. They are, that. So that was something that I, of course, did not expect, but it was just amazing to see the amount of alumni, the amount of current students that attended or were attending, that were there just to receive you. And so that, to me, spoke a lot about Black excellence and just the receiving of, new Black faces and new Black, minds. And so that's something that you just don't receive here, if you grow up in New England. And so, like everyone has said, you think that you're the best of the best, and you get there and everyone is just like you. But everyone is also welcoming. You're there to create that experience to where you have lifelong connections, and that is what an HBCU does. No matter, if anyone says, oh, I went to this HBCU, I went to that HBCU, but the fact that you went to an HBCU is a connection. And I think that, for me, was and still is the best part of going to an HBCU, because no matter where we have gone, the fact that we've gone to an HBCU, we're set apart, and we understand the importance of going to an HBCU to find that, to find yourself. Something that was shocking was definitely the party life, but homecoming. I think for me, growing up here in Springfield, basketball is our life here, right? I mean, I didn't really get into football until I moved to the South, and they're like, oh, football's the America's game, and I'm like, what? I'm like all about basketball, so I learned more about football. So the things that when you go to HBCUs, you learn the culture, you learn, what it's like, there was certain days you had certain foods and certain days you went certain places. We had fried chicken Wednesdays and fish Fridays. So, those are the things that, make your HBCU, you learn, you learn how to walk and talk. But again, like I said, it will always be the best years of my life because I can just look back and think back to just a time a moment in time and just say, I was in college during this time or this helped shaped me. So those are some of my experiences that were good and bad.
As everyone else up here, I echo a lot of those same sentiments. I think some of the negatives for me was I'm coming from the Northeast to the South. I left to graduate high school there with the intention to get in-state tuition, which actually did work. Cheers to my grandparents. So going from Springfield to North Carolina at 17, it was a culture shock. I missed the Northeast. I felt like Springfield was the Mecca. It was everything. It felt like a miniature New York to me. So not really having my people that I grew up with, family, people I call family, like Ms. Related Chairs and things like that, it was hard. And kind of just navigating that as an adolescent was different. But when I stepped on that campus at 17, 18 years old, in a wheelchair because I had surgery at that time, so I rode on campus. But it felt like the cookout. It felt like I was at home. And, I kind of knew that this was the place I needed to be in. Through the group chats and the people that I met, utilizing social media, we became a family. And, I don't regret that for a second. Some of the good things, having professors that loved me, that cared for me, that put me onto internships and opportunities. I have a professor that I left her class maybe 2020 at the height of COVID. I still talk to her to this day. I reached out to her maybe a couple months ago about possibly going back to grad school, and she's in my corner still. So those will probably be some of the biggest things, in terms of just community too. That's big. You want to make sure you find like-minded people as well that value the same things you value, and kind of make your own path, carve your own path, and be true to who you are as well when it comes to stepping on that campus. So those are probably some of the biggest things I'd say.
Thank you. So one of the biggest shocks was, so I identify as, my father is Trinidadian, my mother is from Georgia. So I've always known that Black people are not a monolith, but going onto campus and not having to explain this culture, that culture, getting people that truly understand, oh, your grandmother has an accent, and not just assuming that I'm Jamaican, or not just assuming these things about me. Oh, there's Black people in Massachusetts. Actually, yes, there are. So seeing that, yes, we are Black, well, majority are Black. We're not a monolith. You meet the skaters from California. You meet the dudes with the dreads, the wicks from Miami. It's such a culture shock to see that even though we have this core string that connects us, there's still so many differences in being able to step onto a place where your lack of not knowing that is accepted and you're taught, as opposed to just, no, we stay in our corner, we are over here, you figure out your own thing.
Hello? Okay. You can keep it right there. Actually, what you speak on is a great segue to the next question, which I want to target to Bruce and Kyra, one of our more recent grads, because I do believe, well, we all know that the part of the Black experience is being treated like a monolith. Like being told that because you're Black, you can't do this, you can't do that, you're not expected to do this, you're not expected to do that. And going to an HBCU, you're not going to get a real world experience. It's very mono. You're only going to be around Black people. How are you going to be prepared for the world if you're only going to be around people that look and act like you? But from what I'm hearing from our panelists up here is so much, especially what Dana just mentioned, is so much of the diversity and in the individuals you'll come across on campus from all different walks of life and all different countries and states and backyards. So I'd love to hear from Kyra and Bruce on what was your experience on that real world experience on campus, and what would you say to those individuals who believe that an HBCU can't provide a real world experience? No, here you go. I got one for you.
So I think for me, growing up, like I said, and seeing so many of my aunts and uncles and cousins attend HBCUs and then go on to be incredibly successful doctors and lawyers and business owners, I knew that an HBCU would give me real world experience. I knew that. And for me, I think of it always as I have my whole life to be an only. More often than not, we will be the only black person in the room or at the tables that we sit at. And I felt like being not an only and actually getting to be around my people would be real world experience, because I would never get that again. So that's my world. So I feel like that really, I don't really like when people say, you can't go to HBCU, you're not going to be prepared for the world. I don't think that that's true. I actually think it helps you grow your confidence, figure out who you are, and I feel like I left my HBCU with more confidence than I could have ever imagined, and as well as knowing who I am as a person as well.
So for me, stepping onto my campus, I wasn't really 100% sure of the opportunities that were bestowed upon me. Really, it came down to my professors taking me on tours to UNC Chapel Hill for healthcare management endeavors and meetings and things like that. The Thurgood Marshall Leadership Institute conference, it's a conference where Fortune 500 businesses literally come to you and you pretty much brag on yourself, advocate for yourself in order with the hopes of to obtain an internship. That was something I participated in. So definitely HBCUs give you that real world experience. I got to work with the city of Winston-Salem on food insecurity and housing insecurity for young students. So please do not be afraid by the fact that people will say, don't go to HBCU, because this is your opportunity. It's what you make it. And the opportunities are there. Trust and believe that. So for me, it definitely gives a real world experience, and it's exposed me to many opportunities. Being able to actually go to UNC Chapel Hill as a graduate student, one of 14 black people in my program at that time, I got that because of Winston-Salem State University. So please don't be afraid by the controversy or the hearsay that people say HBCUs do not breed excellence, because they do. And I'm a product of that, as well as my counterparts up here.
And just to add on to that, something my professor always used to tell me is, we're not preparing you for the world the way it is. We're preparing you to shape the world to be what you want it to be. And that was a real big part of my HBCU experiences. We had a vision of how we wanted to see the world, the things we didn't like, though. Because I came into school when Trayvon Martin was murdered, like literally the year right after. And that was around the time Black Lives Matter movement started to pop off, and it was a real intense time in the country. And I was trying to figure out my identity as a man, and how can I help, and how can I change these things that I don't like about the way the world is going. And I don't think I would have been as prepared for that particular fight or for that particular shift if I hadn't gotten an inclement into that HBCU culture. And for Ms. Alicia and Mr. Lee, in what ways did you find support for your specific needs at your HBCU?
Okay, I want to answer that, but can I first tag team to your previous? Listen, in the year of our Lord 2025, if you are interested in the professional careers of, I will say, engineering, I'll say veterinary medicine, and although I don't have all the statistics right in front of me, HBCUs provide the largest number of professional black graduates. So don't let, in the year of our misinformation age, be deceived to think that if you go to an HBCU, you will not receive the financial support. I'm leading into the second part. Because there are endowments, specifically in the age of anti-DEI. You have other organizations and financial backers that are very intentional about putting money into HBCUs and the programs to support. So if you're an engineer, and I did apply to, and I got into A&T because I love the campus, shout out to HBCUs, but understand that we have the financial support because there are a lot of organizations that are very specific about giving money to HBCUs. So as far as support that I received during the times when I was there, we're talking the 90s. Yeah, Ford Foundation was pouring money into our engineering program. I did not give the whole backstory about Tuskegee, but yeah, our students, from a historical standpoint, Booker T. Washington, our students built the bricks. George Washington Carver, his students went out and built things out of the scrap piles to go build labs to do providing, major engineering and research even back in the day. So we have that legacy. So we had that culture built into Tuskegee, where we make sure that we support each other. As an engineering student, and I almost switched my major to education, like the last semester. I was like, I'm done. I was crazy at the time. But the engineering school supported us. We had, no matter what your major, there were clubs that were like pouring into you for study groups. Now we can talk, and I'm gonna add this real quick and then I'm gonna pass the mic. We talk a lot about freshman year, the party culture, organization culture, and I experienced all of it, and I'll happily share with you everything. But from Thursday to Saturday, that was like party time. But come Sunday night, Sunday afternoon, after church or chapel, to all the way through Thursday, the most party-hardy students you could ever think were in those study groups. The libraries were packed. If I did not have a study culture and I was like, I don't really feel like studying, peer pressure was in a positive reinforcement to like, girl, get up in here. So yeah, we supported each other as scholars because we knew the world that was out there. So financially, organizations backed us, and then we had a culture of we will let none of us fail. Because a lot of times, I think we may all have heard the speech, look to your left, look to your right. One of y'all ain't gonna graduate. Well, we were about, no, we're gonna make sure we all do this thing. So we supported each other, no matter cross-curricular, whatever our majors were, we were gonna make sure we all pulled through and did what we could do together.
What was that question again?
Yeah. In what ways did you find support for your specific needs at your HBCU?
Okay. If you go to a HBCU, it doesn't matter which one you go to. There is a group of individuals that are going to push you. They don't want you to fail, because if you go there, they want you to succeed. I was in a study group. Basically, I tutored a lot of football players and basketball players because, I don't know, like I said, I was good in math, so I did the math thing with football players and basketball players. And every group, like Alicia said, if there are groups on the HBCU, that's not going to let you fail. The only way you can fail at HBCU if you don't want to do the work. Nobody can make you do the work, but if you want to do the work, there are going to be avenues there for you. There's going to be groups, professors that are going to be looking out for you. I guess it was my English professor. He was always say, you're brilliant in math, you do this, you do that. And, I really, at that particular time, my first year, I didn't care anything about writing or that kind of stuff. He said, we don't want you to fail. He said, this is what we're going to do for you. So they actually gave me a tutor for my writing skills. And being an attorney now was the best thing I ever did, what they ever did for me, was to teach me, improve my writing skill. I could write, I could do all that when I went there, but they improved on that. As I help somebody else, somebody's going to help you. Financially, when I went to school, this is unbelievable. Room and board was like $1,500 a year. I went to school in the 60s now. The end of the 60s, the beginning of the 70s. Room and board was $1,500 a year. You can't even get an admission slip for $1,500 now. It costs more than just to fill out the admission. But they had programs there. They had work studies. They had all kind of programs at A&M. You could work on the farm, you could work on tractors, you could milk cows, you could do all kinds of stuff. They had programs to help you out. Like in the 60s, late 60s and early 70s, black students didn't have a lot of money because their parents didn't have a lot of money at that particular time. A lot of these people came from, small school in rural Alabama. But like everybody said, we had students from Chicago, Detroit, Miami, particularly the football players. We had a lot of football players from Florida. For some reason, if they couldn't get into Florida A&M or Miami or wherever they wanted to go, they would always come to A&M because it was close. It's proximity to Florida. We had basketball players from Chicago, from Detroit, all over. And everybody looked out for everybody. That's the one thing about a HBCU. They're going to look out for you. As she said, looking to the right, to the left, they don't want you to fail. Again, if you fail at HBCU, you're not trying. If you're trying, you will not fail at HBCU because the professor's going to look out for you, your students are going to look out for you, your study group is going to look out for you, your fraternity is going to look out for you, your sorority is going to look out for you. Everybody there is going to look out for you. They want you to succeed because if you succeed, that means the institution succeeds. So that's all I have to say.
And to echo what Mr. Lee was mentioning about them not wanting you to fail, I recall I waited until my senior year to realize I didn't even want to do political science anymore as a career. Because that happens. You go through the whole 4 years and you realize I don't want to do this as a profession. And he noticed my grades were dropping, and he asked me why. He didn't have to ask me that, but that's again HBCU culture is very family oriented. And I told him I'm very sad because the senior year I feel trapped. I feel like I'm graduating in something. I feel like I wasted my last 4 years learning this thing, learning this field, and now I'm like, what am I going to do? He told me about Peace Corps, and he told me about. And because HBCUs are real big on service, it put me at the top of their applicants. 20,000 individuals apply for Peace Corps every year. They only select about 1,200, and I was one of the 40 that got to go to Rwanda for a year. We lived in Rwanda, we lived in Tanzania, we served, and it was actually in Africa that I learned that education is actually what I love to do. And I wouldn't have gotten that opportunity if it wasn't for that culture that Mr. Lee was speaking about on our campuses. And actually staying within the topic of support, I'd love to ask Nisi and Mark, because it was mentioned earlier about how there's so much focus and support from HBCU and its supporters that's poured into its students and their career development, whether they want to be a chef, artist, doctor, lawyer. Asking Nisi and Mark, can you remind us again what was your major and how did your HBCU prepare you to work in that field?
Okay, so like I said, I was born and raised here, and as a kid, my dad just said, "You're going to be a lawyer. You're going to be a lawyer. You're going to be a lawyer." So when I went to college, I majored in political science, and then my first summer after my freshman year, I interned on Capitol Hill. As my internship for the summer, and great experience, but then I was like, I don't want to do politics. I probably should have rethought that now. But then when I went back in the fall, I switched my major without telling my dad to psychology, because I was like, let me do something easy. Definitely not easy, but so ultimately I ended up graduating with a bachelor's in psych, and I'm currently pursuing my master's in social work. But so yeah, you want to just know what I majored in, right? And what were the supports? I think, like everyone said, I had support. My biggest supporters were my friends. I think you learn quickly, depending on where you're housed, and so you're going to have dorm wars all the time. So where you're housed is really, where you bank your friends. And I was on a popular dorm, and all of my girls that were my roommate and the girls on my floor were my biggest supporters. So those are the ones that are going to be pulling and tugging on you. And then, our library. So the beauty about going to it being in Atlanta is that we have the ability to take classes within the AUC, which is the Atlanta University Center. So I could take classes at Morehouse, I could take classes at Clark, I could take classes at Morris Brown, I could take classes at ITC. So you're able to just, fluidly just move throughout. And so we all shared the same library. We was called Woodruff. We call it Club Woody. And they were like, you going to the club, and everybody knew that's what we meant. You going to Club Woody. So we would have all of our meetings in there, and so I just felt supported. Like everyone is saying, by professors. I had a great financial aid person. Now, you talk about linking up with people. Now, the people you need to link up with is financial aid. I remember I came back after Christmas break, my freshman year, and I had a balance. And I came back early, and then, I don't know if they let you come back early nowadays, but I came back a couple of days earlier than you were supposed to technically. And a friend of mine, me and a friend of mine were walking, on campus, and we happened to see the head of the financial aid lady. She was walking out. She had just finished doing something. And we were just talking with her, and so I just happened to say, yeah, I got a balance. I don't even know how I'm about to pay it. She was like, what? She was like, what you mean you got a balance? And I was like, yeah. So she was like, come on. So we literally, it's 9 o'clock at night. We go down into the office, and she was just like, you all set. Just like that, you all set. And I was like, what? So, just being able to just really know that people want you to succeed, not just in the classroom, they want you to succeed financially. Just, you have to make those connections and be open to, letting people and allowing people to help you, even when you don't even know that they want to. So to answer your question, political science, psychology, social work. That's my track.
So my journey from my major was kind of complicated. So when I first was applying to colleges, my aspirations were I wanted to be like Denzel Washington, and I wanted to double major like he did at Fordham University. He double majored in professional theater and journalism. So I started off at A&T in their electronic media and journalism major program. And then I waited until almost December of freshman year, and I said I went to the fine arts department because North Carolina A&T is one of the few HBCUs in America that actually has a BFA program. So if you're interested in the fine arts, there's BA, Bachelor of Arts, and then there's fine arts, which are exclusive programs for theater, visual performing arts. So, but when the lady who told me, she said, well, if you want to get into the Bachelor of Fine Arts program for theater, you'd have to add another year to your program, because in a BFA program, you have to be involved in every single production in some capacity, whether you're doing set design, lighting, being the assistant, whether you're doing costuming. And so because I had waited from August till almost December, I was like, I'm not doing an extra year. I was like, I could be Denzel Washington, I don't know, somewhere else. But somehow, and I still don't know to this day, but one of the best friends that I had in college, he was a social work major. They always exchanged stories about their classes, how they were learning about basically just studying human behavior, just like sociology. So what I did was, I didn't want to do like some of my other friends who changed their major like almost every year, and then their graduation timeline was like whenever God calls me. I was like, I need to graduate in 4 years, I don't care what I do. So I went to all of the different departments on campus, and A&T is huge, but I went to the social work office, I talked to them, and I had already looked at their pamphlet and the different opportunities that were available, so I ended up switching my major to social work. And one thing that I really appreciated was, even though we talked about earlier, people say that when you go to an HBCU, you don't get real-world experience. Well, I had first-hand experience for real world, because in social work, you have to graduate. In order to graduate, rather, you have to do a practicum experience, an internship. And so when you're getting ready for the real world, I did an internship at the Congregational Social Work Education Initiative, so we worked with churches. I worked at the Interactive Resource Center in Greensboro, so I got to meet a lot of homeless people, veterans. It opened my eyes. I didn't realize there were people that served our country that didn't have the resources. I thought that was crazy. But we were partnered with University of North Carolina, Greensboro, UNCG. The program was a joint program, so I had the privilege of, as a senior undergraduate major, I was in the same program as master's level social work students from a predominantly white institution, UNCG. And so the only difference was because they were MSW level, they were able to diagnose. We were just learning like the tricks of the trade. And so I was proud because we had sponsors from the Cone Hospital that were worth millions of dollars. And so I proudly say that we were able to help save like a bunch of lives. And there was one particular incident, and then I'll pass the mic, where there was a young man, I think he was a veteran, I know he was displaced, but he was experiencing symptoms of delirium tremens, which is like when you have withdrawal. He had an addiction. And so I didn't know anything about addiction or any of those things from a personal standpoint, but with social work, you're taught to follow your gut and to also reach out to resources because it is very much a connective field. So whenever he was trying to share with me about his problems, he put his hand on the table and his hand started shaking, and my gut said something is wrong. But we had this big, huge banquet for sponsorship for fundraising, and the executive director for that program was saying, "Mark, we don't have time for this." She thought I was just being extra. She was the white lady who was over the joint program. She was like, "Are you sure?" I said, "My gut is saying something is wrong." I didn't know what delirium tremens was. I just knew that like you're having spasms, muscle spasms, something's off. So she took me at my word, which is a good testament to A&T. They teach you about your character. At the end of the day, your word is your bond. If you have a 4.0 or not, if you have a good character, people will work and vouch for you. So with the young man, they treated him. He had to go get detox, and had we not reached out, he could have lost his life. So what I learned in that moment was, because I'll backtrack, I was tested in that program working with bachelor's level students such as myself and senior, master's level students working with HBCU students and PWI students. Sometimes the inferiority complex where I feel like, well, maybe I'm not enough. I'm not a master's level student. I'm a little black kid from the South, but then had to remind myself, and my professors did too, you got accepted into that paid internship program. You deserve to be there. Your skill set is there. Follow it. And so because of that, this little black boy from the South helped save a life, and I was an A&T student. So drop the mic.
Love that. Love that. And for Dana and Kyra, I'd love to kind of pivot more towards life before going to the HBCU and when you first arrived, because being from Springfield, we all had to travel far away from home. That could be really scary, especially if you haven't been away from home often. It could be scary for us, it could be scary for people that love us. How did your HBCU help you to cope with being away? And also, what was the support or lack of support like in choosing to attend your HBCU as well before going away?
Excuse me. Sure. So there was a lack of support, not necessarily from my family, but more so from my friends, because again, a lot of them, no shade, went to the UMasses, they went to AIC, they went to Springfield College, and so I'm away. I'm the only one out of my friend group who went. I didn't have any, cousins or anyone who was also going to that school, and so I'm calling everyone back home, and they're all together, and I'm the only one that's missing. And so I was gonna come home, y'all. There was so many times I'm like, "Mom, get the van ready, come get me." But it took my roommates to be like, "Why are you sitting in your room watching TV? Like, there's a whole world going on outside. It's summertime. We're all sitting in the quad. We're all sitting in the yard." And so it just took that first step of just going outside sometimes, because you're not always going to room with someone that you like. You're not always going to room with someone that you know, and just branching out. The lack of support also, I don't want to age myself, but I went to school before Uber and before a lot of this digital technology. So doing my laundry, I had to figure out how to get quarters. I didn't have a card to swipe or a tap to pay. And, shout out to Iota Phi Theta. I went to Morgan. That Alpha chapter, they showed lots of love. They made sure that they had bus rides to, the laundromats, and they would provide quarters during dinner time when you went to go eat. So you can exchange stuff, because it just was so out of the loop. Again, before Ubers and stuff like that, I'm flying home every so often. I got to figure out how to get from campus to BWI, the airport. And so having to learn the bus system, having to learn taxis, having to learn all those things and putting that trust in myself to where now, thankfully, I traveled a lot as a youngster, but I have a low tolerance for people who like can't figure out how to travel. You know, like I'm traveling with somebody, we at the gate at the airport, why are your shoes not off? Like, why are you not already? Because I'm just so used to, if you can figure out the train in New York City, you can figure it out in Cali. If you can figure out the subway in Detroit, you can figure it out in Atlanta. So those challenges actually helped me to be able to doop, 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 and it's a skill that I've realized a lot of people do not have. Thank you.
Okay, so for me, Delaware State is actually one of the closest HBCUs. It's about a 5-hour drive. So that was one of the reasons why I picked it. My support going was amazing, actually. My dad actually closed his restaurant, and we drove down the day of so I could get in and drove back the same day. So they were rooting for me to go. But Delaware State is in Dover, which is like kind of like Springfield. So I had to figure it out. When I went home, I would take the train a lot. So I also had to figure out like how to get to I used to take it out of Philly. So how to get to Philly or how to get to Wilmington to get on the train. But part of the HBCU is the family aspect. So I met my friend, my homegirl. She lived in Jersey. Her dad, they drove me to Jersey. My parents picked me up from Jersey. That worked out. My other friend, she lived in Connecticut, so I got to Connecticut. My parents came and picked me up from Connecticut. I figured it out every time. So, and then luckily I got a car and I started doing the drive by myself. So that will also help you out. Everybody used to be like, how do you do the drive? I'm like, I gotta go home, it's Christmas. So, that the support was great. Also similar, like just the day-to-day, figuring out like getting to Walmart, getting groceries, all of that. But your HBCUs, they have shuttles. They, find a friend with a car, find an upperclassman. Me, I actually was able to get a car because I was still in college during COVID, so I saved all them COVID checks, got my car, and then that really helped me out. I became the friend with the car. So I really feel like similar to Dana, it also helped with my independence. I have no fears. I travel everywhere by myself, do everything by myself, and going to DSU definitely helped speed that up. So yeah, I think that's it.
My experience, very different, y'all. Tuskegee, Alabama. I want you to imagine the most rural place. Mr. Lee will back me all the way up. There's no Walmart in Tuskegee. There's no Walmart in the campus. We, at this point, now have a CVS. So look, y'all are going on a tour. You will see Tuskegee, Alabama. You will be driving like you are in the middle of a country road in some kind of movie or something. And you're gonna pull up on campus and it's beautiful. But here is the experience from a cultural, familial standpoint in rural Alabama where there is still no bus. So when you're talking about we walked everywhere, we found friends, we made ways, we did what we had to do. But I did want to add this because Tuskegee is very supportive of its students and there are always summer programs. Raise your hand if you even know what engineering is. Okay, engineers use math and science to solve problems. That's it. But Tuskegee has the fast track program, which is what I was entered into, which means that the day that I graduated, June 11, 1989, I graduated Long Meadow High School and was on a plane down to Tuskegee, Alabama to start a summer program where we earned 10 hours. So when we took classes during the summer as a support. So by the time we started and everybody, all the freshmen are coming onto campus, we were already 10 hours. We had a math, an English, and an engineering class. We were advanced freshmen. We knew the campus. We knew everybody. So those are the kind of supports that we need. But if you're going to a rural campus, don't necessarily expect the buses and the shuttles and everything else. We learn how to pull it together. And one last thing. So you've heard most of us say, all of us say that we had students from all over the country. Well, I will tell you what made, and I love my Atlanta, my CAU, and all of my Atlanta people. But what makes us different, and we used to go to Tuskegee from Atlanta all the time. We share our homecomings in Atlanta and on Tuskegee. When you have campus that is rural, there's nothing in Tuskegee. And you got students from LA, New York, Detroit, everybody. We come down and converge upon this little bitty town, the seat of Macon County. That's what makes Tuskegee super, super special, because we can't just pull up and go partying in Atlanta. We have to find community in ourselves. And I just had to add that in there real quick, because Tuskegee students, I got the sweatshirt on that says Tuskegee over everything. We can joke around and have all the HBCU love. I don't know if you've ever seen a meme, and it's like it has the guys, and they're like laughing, joking on each other, but let somebody else laugh and joke on them, and we have rivalries. We have a lot of HBCU love, though. So it doesn't matter. I will joke on other HBCUs in a minute, but let somebody come for any of our HBCUs, and we're like, wait a hold on a second, okay? So that's it.
Please clap it up one more time for our panelists. We still have one more mic over there, right? I'd like to go into the audience now. If we have any questions for our panelists.
You had mentioned when you went to HBCU, you were embraced. It was family. At any point, did you get homesick? And what was that like?
I'll go there. Absolutely. I think for me, being in Atlanta, like everyone else, I went the furthest. I was like, let me get up out of here, because I wanted to experience what being in Georgia was like. And I called my mother to tell her I was homesick, and she was ready to like come pick me up. My dad was like, absolutely not. Like you down there, you staying. He was like, no. But my mother I think she probably would have walked to come and get me, because I was homesick. And I mean, you're going to be homesick. Like everyone is saying is, growing up here in Springfield and then going anywhere, you're going to get homesick. That's it, whether you're joining the military or going to a PWI, because the familiarity is not there. You're going to have to learn how to come into your own and be your own. And so, like, I want to piggyback off of your question earlier, like how did you like adjust? So I make it a point to take my kids. We go to homecoming every year. Like I am training them to pick an HBCU. Now at the end of the day, I would love for them to go to my daughter can go to mine. But I said there's over 100, pick one. But I didn't have that exposure. I didn't have someone to, bring me down and like kind of just show me the ropes or whatever. So I make it a point to take them with me every year, and we go early. We leave on time, but we go early, and we just like surface the area. We travel. We go, to this place. We go to that place. But even when we go to different states, we will visit PWIs, and I'll be like, well, what's the difference? Like, what do you guys see here that's different, and things like that. So you get homesick, but it's natural. I don't think anyone can say that they weren't homesick, but you have to find your people. And at the end of the day, those people are, what make you. And to this day, I know every single one. And when you go to homecoming, you may not know their name, but you be like, hey, like you know they was there with you when you was there. you know them. And when I got married, all of my bridesmaids were my friends at Spelman. We all lived on the same floor, and we still do it together. We hang out together. We go on trips together. We do homecoming together, because they are the people that, developed me into the person I am during those important years.
So to answer your question, I'll speak from two sides. The 17-year-old me leaving Springfield to go to North Carolina, and I'll speak from the 25, 26-year-old that's in Springfield that their mama want me to come back down south. So, like I said earlier, leaving Massachusetts at 17 and missing Springfield, it was hard, man. A lot of my friends I grew up with, third grade, going to Milton Bradley on Maple Street, like missing them. I'm not being able to partake in the senior events just because I wanted a chance at something better for myself. And like I said, it worked. And I don't regret it for a second, but I think community is big. That's what you're gonna need. So whether it's like on my campus, they had DMV Metro Rams. I'm not from the DMV, but it was a slice of home from the Northeast. So I joined that my senior year, and making sure that you kind of put yourself out there. That was something that I really lacked in my HBCU experience, and that's one of my biggest regrets. Sitting up in that room, it ain't gonna get you nowhere. So don't do it. Please don't do it. And I'll speak from the perspective now. If I told my mom right now I'm ready to come back home, she'd gas up that car and come get me right now. It's just an unparalleled experience that you'll never get if you stay in Springfield. And the world is big. Like I said, my mom, she took me to Virginia Union University in Richmond at 8 years old. I didn't know what I was looking at or what I was getting into, but when I look back at those pictures, that was my foundation. And at 15, going to Bowie State University, touring it, the college tour in 2016, the year after, it's nothing like it. And I'm so thankful that I'm okay and my community here, because that's what got me where I'm at.
One thing, part of the homesickness was definitely making sure I kept a part of Springfield and kept a part of home. So no matter what was going on, I came home for the Big E. Whether I took the bus, the train, that was the one thing that I said, if I'm not coming home the rest of the year, I'm coming home for the Big E. And I made sure, because no matter where you're going, like, this is still home for me. This is still, my roots. And so that was a big thing. My mom dropped me off at 17 years old in the middle of the blue lights in Baltimore City. So that was a thing that I made sure that, yes, I'm out here exploring, but I'm also going to keep a piece for myself as well. Another big thing is, again, just getting outside. I mean, you really do not understand how big the world is. You will go somewhere to some of these major cities, and not even always major, just somewhere outside of New England, and you will experience different genres of music, different fashion, I never thought that I would like Baltimore club music, but man, put some go-go on,
Hey.
So it's just some of those things where, yes, you keep a piece of home, but this may be your new home too.
Definitely.
I wanted to say about the food. So one thing you learn, the food, listen, I know I love Springfield food, okay? But one thing I learned quick when I went to Atlanta and I was looking for a grinder. They're like, "What's that?" I was like, a grinder. A grinder, and I'm trying to explain it, and they like a sub. I'm like, no, sub is like a Subway sandwich, and but you'll learn that different things, the same thing is called different things. So in Atlanta, it's called a hoagie, and in New York, it's called a hero. So you learn to miss the Chinese food, and so that's one of the things that, you're not gonna get Puerto Rican food in some of these places. So the thing about it is, that's one of the homesick. That's the big homesick. You miss the food that you grew up on. So she's saying, she come for the Big E. When I came home, I knew I was going to back in the day, you're going to Jim Dandy's, you're going to Wong Walk, you're going to the pizza place, because again, New England, we have real Italian pizza, but a lot of these places, they live off of Domino's and Pizza Hut, and we nah, we want some real pizza. So the food was a big homesick.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the campuses have student associations. So if you are in a state, look for a New England association, look for a New England club, look for a Massachusetts club. And if your campus doesn't have a regional club or one that's supported by the alumni of the state, start one. Because in my situation, there were not many people from Massachusetts that attended Tuskegee, but we had some Connecticut, we had a couple from Boston, because we had a strong Massachusetts club out towards Boston, which I used to go to as a kid. So I started one. And guess what? I put some flyers up, because we did flyers back in the day, we had no social media. So I put some flyers up, and some people started to join, and we'd be like, "You're from Bridgeport? What? You from Boston? You from Roxbury? You from Dorchester? Whatever." And guess what? Instant community. So you can find some home, because you don't know that maybe you got people who are from your hometown, or maybe I got people from Springfield that I did not know went to Tuskegee at the same time until I started that. So, and guess what? We can still pick up the phone now, go on social media or whatever, be like, "Hey, what's up? We're doing something," and come together. So create your own culture and community. If you don't see it there, it's good.
And I can't speak for the other cities, but in Atlanta, the Massachusetts Association, huge. There's a lot of us out there. Most of them are from Boston, but it's all the same community. Oh, Springfield Day. Oh, right. There's an event called Springfield Day. It happens every summer, and so the community is out there, and the support is out there. I know there's Facebook group pages and Instagram groups now that people stay connected on even after graduation. So most definitely. Are there any more questions? Yes, sir.
My question is, what advice would you give to the youth in the room in the best way of preparation and expectation? So how the best way to prepare to go to an HBCU, and then what are some of the expectations you may have had of what what you want that experience to be?
Okay, well, I can start. My preparation for going to my HBCU was having a grad party. But when you go, I definitely got ready by I watched a lot of like YouTube videos and like vlogs and stuff. I used to watch the people who vlogged at my campus to see it. So kind of already getting a feel for it. Now we're in this social media age, so I was looking up everything about DSU, all the clubs, all the organizations, who was on SGA, everything. I already kind of had my wheels turning as to what I wanted to do. Because piggybacking off that homesickness question, I kind of knew that I would have to be involved to kind of combat maybe being homesick. So just making sure I got outside. And I feel like my preparation set me up really well. I was in everything. I was in everything so much that people didn't even know I transferred there. They used to be like, you weren't here since freshman year? I said, nope, no, I was not. But so it's really important. And also now for like the roommates and all that, they have all types of like group meets and group chats, and it can seem kind of annoying, but talking in it, that's how I met one of my best friends from college. Like, that's my girl. I met her on Twitter, and like now she comes to Massachusetts. She comes for all my stuff. So you never know how you'll make your friends.
100%. Also, from a personal standpoint, please make sure you really do some internal thought about who you really are. Not who your friends are, not who you think you're perceived to be, but like who you really, really are to your person. Because when you get into an environment like a HBCU, you will have options to explore every facet of your imagination. If there are skaters, there are going to be some skaters there. If you are really into like house music, you're going to find the house heads. If you're really into whatever you're into, you're going to find it. But don't go in thinking, oh, I'm just going to do everything. First, understand who you really to your core are, because that's going to be one of the bigger things, so you don't get all drifting over here, there, and then you lose yourself. So please prepare yourself, first of all, by figuring out, well, am I the kind of person that's just going to party every single day? And if that's not you, don't front like it's you. Because when I tell you, there are every version, if I go back and look with my 54-year-old eyes, there are versions of every part of who I am still on campus. I came in and I was a dancer, so I joined the marching band, and we still do alumni band. I was active in this, and active in that. But I only did those things that really were who I was as a person. Because you're gonna find you got options. And if you don't know who you really are, you're gonna be all over the place. Now, I will add that to a caveat, a little asterisk. At an HBCU, you will be able to explore different versions of yourself. Because if you're going to a place and nobody knows who you are, guess what? You don't come with the baggage of who your family was, what high school you went to, because nobody knows you. You're kind of recreating yourself. But give yourself an opportunity to don't go outside of your core person. If you want to explore different things, that's cool. But don't go outside of your core person and your core values. Hold on to that, because I guarantee you, if you're look, I love to dance. Y'all know, even grown folks, I'll be the first one on the dance floor, like to this day. But I don't do drugs. I don't smoke, like whatever. I found my tribe. So you can find your tribe. Don't feel like you got to become somebody else to fit in. I guarantee you got black nerds that'll be like knowing like Wikipedia. They just like all deep into whatever. So know yourself. Know your values, and let that carry you, even if you kind of, try a little bit of this, that, or whatever, but know your core values.
At a HBCU, you're going to run, as you see people today, street people, drug people, all kind of people. You're The same people you see in Springfield or anywhere else you're going to find them on a college campus, on a HBCU, or in the community in which that HBC is located. So you have to go, like Alicia said, you have to go with a set of values. Pick your friends wisely. Everybody who you think is your friend is not your friend. Pick your friends wisely. You can explore, do a little bit of this, a little bit of that, because there are all kinds of things that you can do at HBCU. It's just like, your friend's friends. You're going to find all those people at HBCU. Anybody that you've seen in the community, outside your community, anywhere, whether it's music, dance, whatever it is, you can find it at a HBCU. But the important thing is pick your friends wisely, because some people who will try to be your friend are not really going to be your friends. So that's where your internal values come. The values that you've grown up with, keep those when you get to a HBCU or any place that you go, because if you don't keep your values, you heard the old phrase, you'll fall for something or you'll fall for anything. Don't fall for anything. If you stick to your values, you will pick good people. Good people will treat you better than anybody that you're going to find. So maintain your values when you go off. It's just like when you go anywhere. Be careful of your surroundings. Look around. Always know where you are. Always know who your friends are. Pick your friends wisely. That's something that's going to stay with you for the rest of your life. You pick good friends. You pick good people to be with. Those people are going to be your friend. 54 years ago, I still talk to my friends, particularly my fraternity brothers. I still talk to them. Some of them I talk to on a weekly basis. Some of them I talk to maybe on a monthly basis. But all of us that we went to school together, we just had our 50th anniversary. Everybody but one person that was alive went back to the university, to Alabama A&M for our 50th. We got on the phone, we got on social media, we did everything possible to get all my Capital brothers together to go back for our 50th reunion. And it was just like old time. Once you make friends, you have friends for life. You have these people who will be in your life, they will help you, they will be your friend, they will comfort you, they will tell you about job opportunities. That's one of the big things about HBCU is you're going to make some friends. This friend might do something that's a little bit better than what you did, but if you call them up, they will put you in touch with their friends. So if you need an opportunity, that's what it all is. It's about the opportunities that you're going to build, the friendship that you're going to build that's going to stay with you the rest of your life. Those friends you can count on, you can call on them no matter what happens. Those are the kind of people that you want in your life. Those are the kind of people that you should keep in your life for the rest of your life.
And Brother Mark, so, because of time, we unfortunately have to conclude, but our panelists will be here a little bit after if you want to ask questions, in case you didn't want to ask a question on the mic. If you want to come up and ask questions afterwards, you are definitely welcome to it, but please give it up for our distinguished panelists and to yourselves for coming out today. We appreciate you. If you have any other questions about the Black College Tour, we'll also be here afterwards. All right.
All right, thank you all. Thank you, panelists, for showing up. Thank you so much. Everybody give them all another round of applause. Give yourself an applause, too, for coming out on your Saturday. Thank you.